happened for another organization with Houston Major League Baseball. I have no idea if anything did or did not, but at this point, I don't see any reason why this is a Mets situation. I'll let Major League Baseball dictate the next steps and try to gather more information in the coming days.
That was in November at the GM meetings. Brodie Van Wagenen, general manager of the New York Mets. Back with Ron Darling, who calls games for the Mets on SNY, former Major League pitcher. I want to get into that aspect of it as well.
Okay.
But those statements didn't seem outrageous that day. Do they still hold up?
Well, I think what Brodie said has come true. We'll let baseball dictate where we go from there. And I think baseball has dictated a lot this week.
So they've also said, though, that the Mets could say, right, players, even though Beltrán was named, we're not punishing the players who just take too much and you can't go after it. These were the men who were responsible. We specifically said, again, Commissioner Manfred said in the memo saying, I would hold general managers and managers specifically responsible, and even Alex Cora as a bench coach was part of management.
Yeah.
Is it okay, this is all new territory, is it okay that Beltrán may or may not have done these things, and you seem probably as the mastermind of these things, that's why it had real value.
Yeah.
Is it okay that he did this as a player trying to gain an advantage and not as an executive or coach?
Well, I think that, if he had been a coach, because if you think about the end of 2017 season, he kind of was a de facto coach, 50 at-bats in September. He was an amazing presence on that ball club as they made their move. But I found it interesting that he was the only player that was in the report. I think when you look at the report in its thoroughness, every period, every comma was languished over, and so there's a reason why he was in there. That being said, I think that it's a very difficult thing. After watching the Red Sox press conference talking about Alex Cora and the gauntlet that management had to go through, I think that's in store for the Mets moving forward.
Really? So it'll be difficult, you think, for?
I think it's going to be
stand by him.
I think it's going to be a very difficult thing. I think he can weather this, but I think it's going to be an incredibly difficult thing to get through, just because of what I just saw.
Right, with the Red Sox news conference. I want to ask you as well. I mean, this is why Beltrán had value.
Yes.
Was that he paid attention to details. And then, where is that line exactly? Well, the line is using the electronic equipment in real time, but he was deemed as a very good organic operative, right? He was a guy sitting on the bench coach. Did you see that? See what? So explain that. How some guys have value as players in the spy versus spy game.
I remember in the beginning of my career, I played with the great late Rusty Staub, and he probably was the best that I had ever seen. He had a book that he wouldn't let anyone see, and he had every pitcher in the National League, their little picadillos, their little tells on how they would throw a certain pitch, if they wiggled their finger, if they opened their mouth, if they took a breath, all of those things. And Carlos and others are at the top of the game when it comes to that. But it's kind of a perfect storm. You had Alex Cora, who's one of the best in his generation of players, Carlos Beltrán with his knowledge, and then the people that were working with the technology. When you put those together, there's an explosion of newness that has never been in the game.
Where the analytics the analytics and the scouting, right, just baseball people, it finally met where the baseball ops, I'll call them kids, but younger baseball ops guys mostly, not just
as long as you don't call them lower level.
Right. So baseball ops department people, or maybe it's the video monitor guy who's just wheeling it down there, but is saying, hey, we've been looking at this, and while we're looking at pitch sequences, now we're looking at signs. Right? You pitched many years in the majors. It's kind of all in the same ecosystem, isn't it?
It really is, and I think the most important thing coming out of this is that I think all teams are going to realize that the technology part of this is going to be gone, or should be gone, and that is going to have to go back to a point where pitchers are going to just have, and catchers are going to have to be much smarter in how they protect themselves out of the mound, because the paranoia should stay. It should always stay that every team at every time, at all times, is still trying to read your sign. You're just going to have to make them more convoluted and a little harder to read.
And even wider. Let me ask you this wide-ranging question. Clear your mind again, Ryan.
Sure.
As I'm thinking, as even Hall of Fame votes begin to then go back to Clemens and Bonds, and you have people of a new generation, this is fact, people including my own kids who are in their 20s, who will say, was it really that bad? For those guys cheating, wasn't everybody cheating? You have that. You also have a lot of people who are always clamoring for Pete Rose and his reinstatement. And this scandal was not guys throwing games, guys trying to win games. But was this a kind kind of this, a shot fired for all of this. There's more and more gambling and betting associated with sports and baseball. And was this a shot saying, wait a second, we need to have a real line here so everyone understands the consequences, not just for this, because there are worse things than this.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think baseball has always tried to have their arms around the game. And certainly there have been many times that they have not. And there's been kind of a Wild West thing that has happened, whether it's PEDs or what has just happened this past week. But at some point, I think, with the technology, with future and present gambling on games and all of those things, I think the most important thing is that you have to somehow stop that once you leave that clubhouse and once you walk down those steps and you're in the dugout is the only thing happening for the three and a half hours. And once that is done, back in there and pouring over things to try to get an edge. But once the game starts at 7:10, 6:10, whatever the time the game starts, it has to be almost, in a strange way, it's hard for me to even say it, technology-free zone.
Right. Interesting. It made me think of something else too. Like, one thing baseball was never loosey-goosey about for a good century was gambling, right?
That's right.
You heard as a player when you came out, I don't know, the signs, everything else.
Yeah.
That was something that no. Be clear about this. That's been clear for a century now, hasn't it?
Yeah, and there, there was my time. Of course, Pete Rose was the a player manager of the Reds, and we saw the repercussions of his actions to this day. And I think that was something in the clubhouse. If you heard anything and you had to repeat anything, that edict on gambling in baseball was something that you could repeat well into your 60s or 70s.
Right.
That is going to be something that is going to be a very difficult thing to make sure, again, back to the integrity of the game and retaining that.
And by the way, I see lots of gray area between Bonds and Clemens and Hall of Fame. If you choose to honor him or not, I would choose not to. But I'm not a narc on this. Also, Pete Rose, I have lots of sympathy for Pete Rose. I love talking baseball with Pete Rose.
Yeah.
But it was very clear what he violated. So these things, are clear. But there's gray area.
They are clear, and I guess with now looking at Pete Rose and looking at PEDs, it's going to be interesting what happened on Monday. How long, how far those tentacles go, and how long we talk about it.
Ron, thank you.
Thank you.
Good talking to you one-on-one. We'll take a short break.